Welcome to Syndication Made Easy with Vinnie Chopra. I'm your co-host, Alicia Debrell, and today we have the privilege to interview a very special guest. I know that Vinnie's been on his podcast a couple of times, and now we have the privilege to have him on ours. So we're excited. But Michael Blanc, hello, how are you doing? Vinnie, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. This is excellent morning. Very, very sunny. It's going to be 83 degrees. Michael, how is it over there in Virginia, bud?
It's also always sunny, right? You know what I mean, Vinny?
Smiling, sunny, you're right.
I'm just trying to keep up, Vinny.
Thank you, Michael. You're a well-known personality in USA and around the world. I want to introduce you, Mike. And Michael Blanc is a full-time entrepreneur, investor, and coach. He's passionate about helping people become financially free. Michael is the owner of NightHawk Equity and currently controls over $65 million worth in performing multifamily assets and have raised over $21 million. In addition to his own investing activities, he has helped his students purchase over 5,000 units. Congratulations, Michael. That's valued at $215 million. Fabulous. He's the host of Apartment Building Investing with Michael Blanc and regularly writes for Bigger Pockets and also the Flipnerd's REI Classroom. He currently lives in Northern Virginia with his wife and 4 children. Let's welcome Michael. Michael, thank you for taking the time. Really appreciate that.
It's great to be here, Vinny. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Michael. It was such a pleasure to meet you. You're together last year at your tremendous summit, the Deal Makers Live, and you helped so many people, 550 people, not 1,000 yet, but they will be, and it was such a great event. And I know this year you're doing the online, right? You want to tell a little bit about the audience? Because this is going to be
we're doing the same thing we did last year, but we have to go virtual, right? So we're like, first we were super disappointed. We're like, oh, that sucks. Yeah. And it's not the same, but we're using technology now that not only allows us to connect with each other, but through that technology allows us to network and actually do hangouts. And it's going to be great. It's different, but it's going to be great. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be in July.
It's going to be fabulous, and again, sometimes more people can attend also. I think when you were interviewing me, I said, let's go for 1,000 or 2,000 because that's possible. In our offices, in our homes, all across the world, people can come into that Deal Makers, the name that you will choose may be the same, but that's exciting, very exciting.
Yes, it is. I'm really looking forward to it. And you're going to be speaking as well. Alicia.
I will be. I'm looking forward to giving that 45 or 1 hour, whatever you give me, and rock everybody up and really give my best. It's my pleasure.
I think it's really unique that now both of you have the opportunity to reach and help so many other people and so many other students that normally couldn't afford to travel out to one of your guys' events or listen to you guys speak. But now they can do it right from their home. So as much as this whole situation has changed the way we all do our daily lives, I think it's also really offered an opportunity that nobody would normally have.
So true. So very true.
That's true.
Excellent. Yeah. Excellent.
So, Michael, can you do me a favor and just tell me a little bit about your background and where you're from? I'm going to get into the business stuff. Don't worry. Me and Vinnie will get there. But I want to know just a little bit about you.
Well, I'm originally from Germany, believe it or not. German was my first language.
Accent.
Yeah. It's because I'm undercover. See? And now it's blown. But I grew up in Germany, and my dad used to work for IBM. So I learned English when I was around 8 years old, and that was his second international assignment. So I was never surrounded by any kind of entrepreneurs. So I did what everybody else around me did and told me to do, which is, go to school, get good grades, which I did. And I got a job, and I studied computer science, and that's kind of what I did. And in the late 90s, I ended up with a software company called Web Methods, and we were in the right place, right time. We went public in March of 2000. At the time, was the most successful software IPO in history, and put a whole bunch of money in my pocket, which was great. And I was the man, Vinny. You know what I mean? I was a man. And then in 2004, I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, and it ruined my life. So,
I've never heard that explanation of that book.
Oh yeah, it's terrible. I told Robert Kiyosaki this also. You ruined my life, and so after a significant hemming and hawing, I actually quit my job. Now at the time I had money, so I had a runway, but I did everything at once. You know, I learned how to trade stocks and options. I flipped a couple houses. I took an apartment boot camp. What else? I negotiate some short sales, whatever. But my big thing was restaurants. I was surrounded by some franchisees who were in the burger business and they were crushing it. They were printing money. I was like, well, I want to print myself some money. So I decided to print myself some money, and I got into the restaurant business. But I was like, man, I'm going to get financial freedom if it kills me.
Yes.
And I just went all in. I took my entire net worth and I invested in a series of a pizza franchise, which at the time was doing very well, but the recession changed all that. Mm-hmm. And I'll make a long story short. I subsequently lost my IPO millions in the restaurant business, added a couple $100,000 of debt on top, maxed out my credit cards, and almost lost my house. I remember going into a Panera one day, get a coffee, and the card was declined. And normally I'm like, oh, someone must have missed a payment. I will fire someone. And I'm like, there is no more payment to be made. It was literally like maxed out. And so I was like, man, what am I going to do? Right. And I almost went and got a job, Vinny, but I had this conversation with God. I said, there's no way you made me go out on a limb, become a full-time entrepreneur, or so I can crawl back and get a job. So I was like, man, there's got to be another lesson in there somewhere. So I was like, okay, I got to stay an entrepreneur. What can I do? I got it, real estate. And so the only thing I knew how to do at the time was flip houses. So I didn't have any money. And so I started borrowing money from people, and I was able to borrow money, pay them a 12% interest. And I started buying 2 houses a month. Mm-hmm. And I kind of like, I had the sinking ship on the one hand. It was like bleeding money. And then I was stuffing money on the other side just to kind of keep it on balance. And this was going well. Finally, I ended up selling to restaurants for pennies on the dollar, all cash, fast close kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And so I was flipping houses, but after a while, and then I kind of got into apartment building also. And it was kind of a nightmare. After about 12 to 18 months, it kind of settled down and started sending me mailbox money. And I'm still busy flipping houses. I'm like, man, that's a lot of work. Like, I can't just take a month off.
Sure.
If I'm not buying, fixing, or selling something, I'm not making money. And this didn't sit well with me. I was thinking financial freedom, and I kind of created a job for me. Mm-hmm. And so I finally looked around and I looked at my apartment building, and I said, yeah, I got to do more of that and less of this. And that's kind of when I started blogging about it on the Bigger Pockets, and people were like, well, how do you raise money? How do you syndicate deals? And I was just figuring all this stuff out at the time.
Sure.
Kind of like you did. And I started blogging about it, and people were more and more interested. And I was like, I should maybe do something, and maybe. So I created an analyzer, and people dumb enough to buy that, and then I created a course, and, today we're one of the leading authorities on teaching people how to buy apartment buildings with private money. And I've realized now that the multifamily is the fastest path to financial freedom for the broadest audience. It doesn't really matter what your background is, what your resources are, or what your experience is. It always leads to the same goal, which is financial freedom. And that's really what gets me out of bed every morning.
So true, Michael. I mean, very similar story. Like, we were having single family homes, being a motivational speaker and all. And then about 12, 14 years back, my life changed. Like you said, when I looked into commercial, and when I became broker, and never looked back, and will never look back. I mean, we are so excited about how to really impart knowledge to millions of people all across the globe and everything. That's so wonderful. And, I'm sure people listening to us, if you're really looking into multifamily, if you're even thinking you're doing flipping or you're doing wholesaling and things like that, please look into multifamily, because that will really get you the cash flow, get you the equity gains, and you will be scaling up your cash flows and financial freedom, like you said. What do you find, Michael, like, as a lot of young investors, right, they talk to you and they want to do what you're doing right away? I mean, I've come across those, and you have to kind of say, what do you tell them? What do they need to be really successful?
Well, first of all, I would agree with them. Most people don't think they can get started right away. Most people think they have to, essentially, there's a sequential approach, a step-by-step approach, starting with single family house investing, so wholesaling or flipping or landlording for a period number of years to gather experience and money, and then graduate to the big boy game, which is multifamily. And where I just think that's a false belief. It's not really necessary. And we know that because so many people now have done it. Yeah. Most people don't, because no one else tells them this kind of stuff. And that's what you and I are trying to tell people. But, so that's kind of the biggest, I would say, false belief, is that I have to do some single family house investing first. Not true. But from that point also, and I also find a lot of people don't have an open mind to it, because when I tell them, oh yes, you can quit your job with apartment buildings, they're going to go, yeah, I heard that. That's pretty cool. But, I don't have the experience. I don't have the cash. Mm-hmm. And so what it does is that while they think it's cool, it actually raises objections in their minds. Yeah. And so most people don't have an open mind because of what everybody else around is telling them and doing. And so you need an open mind. And then after that, once someone says, I am open to this idea, that, maybe that was your question, what do you do next? And really it's a matter of educating yourself. That's number one, because it's like anything, golf, there's a certain language people use, certain rules, unspoken rules, God forbid you break one of these unspoken rules, you're looked at weird. And in the multifamily space, if you use the wrong words, brokers, they're not going to look at you weird. They're going to ask you for proof of funds, so you go away, So you have to use the right language. You have to know how to analyze deals. And so there's a certain amount of education that's required, and you have great programs and we have great programs. And that's step number one, because I find that once people have a certain once they see it done in some way, even if it's only academic, and most people they can't see themselves doing a deal all the way through. Sure. But once they see, how do I not only find a deal and analyze the deal, but how do I get it under contract? My life doesn't end once I get it under contract. It actually goes on. Mm-hmm. And closing and operating, once they see that, they kind of go, I can see myself doing that. And they start believing in a way. And so this is why, even like reading my book or blog posts or the videos you're putting out, just seeing or reading that makes a material difference in someone's belief in themselves.
Mm-hmm. So true, Michael. And, again, the word, many people frown upon the word syndication. They feel like, oh my gosh, it's a gorilla and how to understand, and, and it's legal, and, we'll be having this kind of reports and that and scrutiny and all that. But if we do it correctly, syndication is the world that really, really has changed my life. I'm sure, yours and your students too. And, I wrote that book, Syndication Made Easy, because I just feel like pooling money together. We borrowed some money when I started in this business with $1,000, only $1,000, 14 units, but like your students also, and you have also started from humbly, but then you can scale up because OPM, other people's money, combining it legally is syndication. That's all it is to it, right? So getting those investors,
and I think one of the things I love this business and you love this business is a team sport, right? People in the single family house world, or even if you have a W-2 job, it tends to be a solitary sport. It's like, it's me and I got to protect myself from everybody else. It's win-lose or whatever. And it's kind of strange for people is that it's actually a team sport. People who try to go in themselves will eventually get successful, but they struggle and it takes a lot longer. The deals are smaller versus a team sport, not only raising money, but bringing in joint venture partners, right? I don't know. So syndication sounds complicated. Yeah, but it's not. You don't have to figure it out. That's why you have an SEC attorney and you build the cost of that person into the deal. And all of a sudden, this is why I love the title of your book. It's actually a lot easier than people really think.
So sorry about that interruption. My daughter, she's home from school. Obviously, she just tried to creep in on our call.
With the COVID happening, I know. Things are
blocked it. She took a butter knife and broke in. But I do. So I'm going to go a little off script here because both of you guys talk about a situation that I've always looked at. So I just got in. Like I flipped houses before. I'm not in necessarily the real estate world, but I've dabbled and I've dipped in it. But one thing I always talk to Vinnie about, how overwhelming multifamily seems to be. And I want to ask both of your opinions on how you would deal with talking to somebody like me who they have some real estate experience. I did 15 years in timeshare. I've done 5 years in flipping houses. So I know a little bit about a little bit. Plus I've worked with Vinnie for a while here. So, I've done the campaign for his book and I've, gone through it, and I've done all these podcasts with him. So I know enough about enough, but to me, it still seems overwhelming. And maybe that's because it's the team sport aspect coming into play, because I'm not necessarily trying to jump into it, but to me, it still seems overwhelming. So what would you tell somebody like me? Well, I want an opinion from both of you.
Yeah, Alicia, in what way does it seem overwhelming to you?
There's so many different moving parts. So many different, you have to get investors, right? You have to get money, you have to play by the rules. It's a different animal than flipping houses completely. And then once you get the property, you're right, you're not done. It's not like you flip a house and you fix it and then you're done and you sell it and, you get to walk away from it. You're only going to make money is if you run the property correctly and do, value adds and stuff like that. I think I have the right terminology. But to me, it just seems overwhelming for somebody who is new into the industry and looking for that walk away from my W-2 job. So I guess I wanted a little bit of input from both of you, because both of you have done it and you're both, professionals and deal with people on a daily basis that are looking at this. But I think it's overwhelming. And I mean, I've run multi-million-dollar companies, billion-dollar companies. I used to run Wyndham.
It's interesting you say that, but if you think about a house, I mean, the process of doing an apartment building, the steps are exactly the same. You got to buy something, so you got to find it.
I don't know why it seems to me overwhelming.
Maybe because it's bigger. I don't know. Maybe because it's got a couple more zeros at the end of it. But ideally, from a conceptual standpoint, it's the same thing. You're looking houses and you have to analyze them. You have to determine the ARV, the after repair value. Mm-hmm. So there's a buying analysis contract side, and then there's a money side. Okay, there's a bank involved, and you need money from somewhere. If you don't have it yourself, you bring in, a couple of investors. So you got to do that. And then you got to operate it, which in a flip is you got to actually fix it up and then sell it.
It's the long term. I think maybe it's the long term game.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I think Michael is totally right. I mean, the transaction is the same, right? I sometimes compare, like if I buy 20 flips or 20 sales of those flips, that's 20 transactions. Mm-hmm. But having a 20-unit apartment, it's one transaction, mm-hmm. one loan. And then you're able to keep that property operating for a longer period of time, and then value add, economies of scale, the same kind of situations. So overwhelming part I can see, Alicia, again, if you qualify, if you find out how much you can afford loan-wise, and you can get the first part, get the team going, then the only two spinning plates in my thinking are investors, where we get the money and the deals, right, Michael?
So I love the spinning plates. It's a great analogy, and there's not a very few people in the world can keep all the plates spinning, and this is therefore there's so many joint ventures. So we have joint ventures of at least two people, possibly up to four that we found very successful. So at a very basic joint venture, you have the relationship person. Okay, these are people who can call brokers and investors, and they love gabbing and networking and playing golf. Yeah. Then you have the more analytical person, the detail-oriented person, the spreadsheet, the numbers person, and you need both in this business. You need it, frankly, in the house flipping side also. So people tend to do a poor job with one or the other. In a multifamily, those two partners are going to get along really great because one's going to focus on investors and one's going to focus on the deal flow. That leaves the operation part when you actually close it, right? Who's going to do that? That could be a third kind of person, right? Again, that's kind of where it gets boring, because I can manage a 250-unit building with a 30-minute call if my proper manager is in place. And so the asset management part could be a completely other person as well. So you have three of those. Now there could be a fourth person, which is a marketing person, okay? Especially if you want to scale the business. And Vinnie, you have a lot of marketing people this year, obviously involved in that. And that is a completely different hat, right? So you bring in these online marketing people, these social media SEO people, and they'll have no idea about real estate, but it doesn't matter because they know how to put out content, they know how to run ads and things of that nature. So therefore, I don't have to know everything. I just have to know the different functioning parts, and I have to create a team where I have a super analytical, detailed person. I have someone who has a network, relationship kind of person. Yep. And now I just sit back and count the passive income, Alicia.
See how simple it is, Alicia. I mean, you put it so nicely. Yeah, that's so true. And that is our game. I think Michael, mine, and some other, performers, is that, once you do one time, I think the daunting thing is to get that first apartment, right? Right, Michael? Then the second one, third one, fourth one is so easy. So easy, I mean, I did like 28 of them now, but I remember that 14 units for $180,000 where I started. But then that's how it is,
That's right. It's so easy that you can still take a nap every single day, Vinny. And yeah, it's so true. My first deal, the more went wrong in that first deal than anything combined since then.
Yes.
And I was like, oh God, I regret getting into this stuff. So the first deal is the everything, and everything gets a lot easier.
Easier, it does. Mike, share with us some nuggets, for all the investors, how we could help them. What kind of softwares you might be using, or some books that they would, should be reading, or you'd like to recommend, or things
well,
like that.
You're going to make me recommend my stuff, Vinny. Is that what you're asking for?
Definitely.
So the software.
Show your book. I need to see
Where's
that.
my book? Yeah.
Yeah, we should. Look at that.
This is called Financial Freedom with Real Estate Investing.
Yes. Wonderful book.
Like your book is going to be a must read because it's going to introduce people to the world of syndications.
I appreciate that. Really, this one, then my next book is coming too.
See, look at that.
Positivity brings profitability. I know we are
I love that.
Ourselves.
I love that. You're focusing on mindset. That's just great. Software is analysis software. Ours is called Syndicated Deal Analyzer, which is one of the most popular analysis tools out there. And gosh, what other software is there?
Do you use like Trello or use like Slack and all in your business?
So we use Slack. For communication. We use a tool that I love, productivity tool is Calendly. When I implemented that, I swear I probably gained 10% of my time back because you avoid the back and forth and voice calls and let's set up a call. And oh my gosh. The other one I really love is Boomerang for Gmail. Because when you send an email and the other person doesn't respond, well, that happens 10 times. I can remember maybe 2 of them, and the other one I'm like, I'll just forget. And Boomerang reminds you, hey, this knucklehead didn't respond in 2, 3, whatever, 6 hours, days.
I'm gonna have to write that down, Mike.
Boomerang is
just wrote it down.
Is really cool. And then for project management, use Monday.
Oh,
Monday.com.
Monday. I've heard about that. That's
which we love a lot. It's
Active Campaign and MailChimp. I think I remember you mentioned
Active Campaign. Yes. That is my hands down my number one choice.
Yeah,
over everything else for sending emails and automations and things of that nature.
Wonderful. Also, I know the investor portal. Some of your investors might be asking. I've transferred into IMS now.
Yeah,
that's a good one right there, right?
We use IMS. Another good one is Investor Deal Room as well. We have a good number of syndicators using that as well. Yes. They don't have quite as many features, but they're much more affordable. And IMS is very sophisticated. So people as sophisticated as you and I, Vinny, must use IMS. But it may be overkill for many people. At least getting started or having 500-600 units. But they're working on it. I really like the Investor Deal Room guys.
Investor Deal, yeah. How about like with the coronavirus going on now? I think there'll be great opportunities coming up. What you're thinking on that? How it's going to change for the next, let's say, 8 to 12 to 2 years? What's your outlook on that?
Yeah, I think so. We've already been seeing a change in sellers. Now, most people are slow to change, obviously, and most people are like refusing to accept reality. But the reality is that that income is going down, which means that values are inevitably going down. But we've even had deals where literally almost overnight, in the middle of March, certainly by the 3rd week of March, the seller was insisting on a hard money down day one. All of a sudden, this thing came, no more hard money. That's okay. We don't need that anymore. And, oh, by the way, we'll give you a financing contingency. Really? Are you kidding me? And we'll give you a 90-day due diligence period. And we're like,
90 days.
Really? Well, how can I say no to that? We're being opportunistic in that way. We are being cautious because we don't know how low it's going to go. April collections were actually higher than we expected, but this is because we think people got paid in arrears. So 2 weeks later, which means that when this happened in April, they had money to pay. And we were mostly concerned with people choosing not to pay the rent, not being unable to pay for it, but choosing not to pay. And that did not happen. Yeah. But I think the real test will be in May and June, July, to see the true impact of, people getting laid off and things of that nature. So, we're just working with all of our tenants as much as we can. We're educating them about all the programs around how to file for unemployment. We're going to be super patient with people in this time. And so, I think together we'll get through it.
We will. I think that's the biggest thing. I'm glad you're saying that. I know when we did the 2007 and 8, it was like a U actually.
Oh, yeah, well, like a really shallow one, like a long grind,
Very big.
I think this is going to recover a little faster. I don't know what you think. I really do. I think people are going to stick their head out of their shell and they're going to look around and go, there's no hammer coming, so maybe I'll just come out a little bit more. I think it's more of a V than a U. I think V might be a little exaggerated, but I don't think it's going to be quite like 2008. No. That was a really protracted, long, really bad, long time. And I think the recovery is going to be a little, but what do I know, right? I don't know.
Nobody's got the crystal ball.
Yeah.
No, you're right. I was just thinking like Nike symbol, like a V and then like a swoosh. So it will take some time like that, but not a very drawn out process, and so forth. So definitely, I think optimistically looking at the whole situation, of course, the demand is there. Demand is going to be there, ever increasing demand from millennials, from of course, the older 55 plus baby boomers retiring, all them, right, for apartments and downturn or, going down.
The demand is still there. The demand is still there. And the only reason that people aren't paying their rent right now is because they don't have it. Because if they're laid off in some situation, that's going to be the issue. But there are so many subsidies now, both for employees and for employers, that I think the money will start flowing in May and June. And it will help. What's going to happen after that? If it goes longer than that, I don't know. The government can always print more money. That worked before.
No, that's what
I like that idea. I want one of those printers in my house.
I know the Paycheck Protection Plan. Of course, it's been the CARES Act. Really nice. I think it's so good that $2.4 trillion, was already passed, and there might be another 2 more trillion coming. News is, but the thing is that 2.5 month of the payroll for the small business and all that, that's a tremendous opportunity for people like you and I, to be able to have that available. It's not there yet. I know all the banks are saying backlogged and this and that, but it'll get out, What other things can you think of, Michael? Like, what is your next, what's your passion, now?
My passion really is, as much as I love buying stuff, I do love the art of the deal, but I really like helping people become financially free, especially when they didn't think it was possible before. So I have these coins, Vinny, these financial freedom coins.
I like it.
And when people quit I also have the first deal coin, which is this red one, slightly smaller.
Yes.
And so when people do their first deal, they get this one, and when they quit their jobs, they get this one.
Wonderful.
And that really lights me up, because I believe that I think that it empowers people to start thinking about a life of significance and legacy when they're not working 50 hours a week. Sure. If they're working 50 plus hours a week, it's very difficult to think about bigger things in life just because you're so busy. You come home, you help with dinner, put the kids to bed. And this affects largely, men, right? Men who go out and working. And so, if you try to have a conversation about purpose of life and living into your passions, they're going to look at me and go, Michael, what in the world are you talking about? You're so far removed from reality. You have no idea what's really going on. And I realized that, a full-time job literally gets in the way of fulfillment in many cases. And I've also observed that people who are financially free, can do stuff like write books and have podcasts like you, Vinny, right? And so what happens is people, after they buy a bunch of stuff and they travel, you know, after like a few months, they get bored. They're like, oh, all right, well, now what do I do with myself, right? And they start realizing that it's not about themselves anymore. It's something about something greater, and it's typically about serving other people. So my simple math is help more people come financially free, and they in turn will help other people, and maybe the world will be a better place. So that's kind of lights me up right now.
Love it.
I love it. Michael, I do want to ask you though, is there anything that you would have changed in the beginning of your career in the multifamily business that you, like if you knew better, if you knew what you knew now in the beginning, is there anything you would have changed on how you would have?
Yes. One of the things I did not do earlier on is, this is particularly relevant for the restaurants. I did not have a mentor, right? And I felt I was a smart guy, and I knew it all, and I had a bunch of money. And therefore, what can go wrong? And I didn't really feel like I needed any kind of help. You know, if had I been my own mentor, I would have slowed me down. I said, well, let's just take a little slower. I know what you're trying to do. You're trying to deploy your capital so you get passive income. But why don't we be a little more cautious about this? And why don't you actually study the business you're going to get into? Let me give you a 25-point checklist, and you evaluate the restaurant business or the house flipping business or any kind of freaking business you want to do according to these criteria. And then you let me know if that's what you actually want to do. And that would have changed things. I never did any of that. So I think having a mentor, someone who has been there, done that, and maybe has a few battle scars, would have materially changed my life. With apartment buildings, at the time, there wasn't really that much information about syndication, as you may recall, Vinny. It's we were at the time didn't know each other, and we were all islands. And I felt like there was a collective consciousness where I put out a bunch of stuff, this guy did a bunch of stuff, and all of a sudden there's multiple people teaching apartment building investing. I'm like, what? I thought I was the only one thinking of this, right? And so, a few years ago, multiple people were teaching the same thing. But after the recession, there really wasn't much around syndication. So I was just experimenting and making missteps and mistakes, and it was slow, and I lost a bunch of money. It took longer. So in today's environment, we have a benefit of multiple people teaching this stuff, and hopefully can short circuit a lot of that.
Much better. You're so right, Michael. And again, there is a lot of free information also, but you really do need a coach, a mentor who can hold you accountable and show you the path, I say, the blueprint or the templates and things that otherwise you won't be able to get them. And then you will spend so many months and, maybe years, who knows, to really try to reinvent the wheel. I mean, there are so many great opportunities out there that people miss out just because they just don't want to invest. And that's a big case. You spend money in, thousands of dollars, right? I spent when I didn't have it even, and you might have too. The key thing is to really make a case with everybody. Hey, you will be so better off. And if they just do one deal, the returns on that overweighs the investment many, many, many times, right? Yeah. What books would you say? Anything on mindset or something? Do you read or how would you
recommend to our audience?
Yeah, I mean, I do read a lot. So answering that question is a bit of a challenge for me. But there's probably a few books that stand out. Besides yours, of course, and mine, and of course, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I mean,
yes.
Duh.
Oh my gosh.
I do like the two books by Hal Elrod, both The Miracle Morning, Made a Material Difference.
Oh my God.
He loves that one.
Made a Material Difference.
Miracle Equation.
So that made a difference for me in my morning routine. And then that new book, The Miracle Equation, I thought was really excellent because it redefines goal setting.
It really is.
And it's very, very good. And then the third one is probably The One Thing by Gary Keller.
Me too. I love that one too.
Love that. Like any other books that you like, Vinny, that you recommend?
I know there was one book, Good to Great. That's a bestseller book. Really, Jim Collins. I really
that's a good one
that.
also.
Of course, I really would love to tell everybody to get a copy of this one. How to Win Friends and Influence People. I mean, that was published in 1933, I think. 1933. And I bought it in 1979.
Wow.
1979.
Man.
I know.
That's amazing.
It's got a pretty old book, but I have, read it, even written I always sign and write the date when I buy the book. So
Okay.
I have like Dale Carnegie's another one. So inside it'll say July 1979 I got down. So I've just kept them, yeah. No, there are some tremendous...
Vinny, you are an oldie but goodie, I'll tell you that.
I love it. I love it. You guys are funny. I love it.
Michael, thank you so much for spending time with us. And I really value you, and I look forward to doing my very best in the seminar as it's coming up. And please send across the information so that I can send it out so that people can get their seat, right away. And how can people reach you, by the way?
Yeah, I'm at themichaelblanc.com. That's B-L-A-N-K, blank, but I pronounce it funny, and it has a "the" in front of it because there's only one. Apparently, I'm not the only Michael Blanc in the world, so I have to get the Michael Blanc. So Michael Blanc, the book is Financial Freedom with Real Estate Investing, and then the event you're talking about, the virtual event now, is going to be Dealmaker Live, and it used to be in Dallas, but now it'll be online.
It's in July, right? What are those dates?
Yeah, July 16 to 18. We're keeping the same exact dates. We have the same speaker lineup, such as yourself. The only benefit is that the ticket prices are going to be lower, and we can basically accommodate as many people as want to go. We were initially capped at 500, and so now we don't have a cap anymore because we're virtual. So it's going to be pretty cool.
Well, guys, I definitely appreciate your guys' time. Loved it. Loved to be able to kind of ask you guys questions coming from an outsider into it. Loved being able to do that. Michael, it was a pleasure to have you on the show. Vinny, it's always a pleasure. I know you guys are busy. I'm sure you got back-to-backs after this. I will make sure all of your information, Michael, is here in the show notes. So, guys, this is Syndication Made Easy with Vinny Chopra and Michael Blanc. So, until next time.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Michael.
Thank you again, Michael. Thank you, bud.
Be sure to listen to Mr. Smiles next week with more golden nuggets and top-notch coaching tips. You can reach him by going to VinnieChopra.com or texting the word syndication to 474747. Be sure to like, comment, and share to show everyone how Mr. Smiles has brought your apartment syndication business to the next level.